Like you can't just be silent in the interview. Like certain men are like this in the interview. Certain men them are like this in the interview. They're like this. Um, and then the interviewer just looking at you like, come on, G, come on, bro. Like, speak out loud, bro. Like think out loud, G. But you're just like this. There's YouTube. What do you do? It's your boy Spencer, man. Alright, today I'm gonna be telling you guys how you can destroy the Uxbridge interview. Alright, let's get straight into it. Alright, by the way, I feel like I'm sick, so if I start coughing like out of nowhere, you know why. But anyways, tip number one is simply you need to be able to, I got my notes right here. You need to understand and master AS and A2 content of all of your subjects. So what do I mean by this? So for me, right, in year 13, I did A-level biology, chemistry and maths, right? And to prepare for the interview, I made sure that I understood the whole specification that I had covered so far for both year 12 and year 13. So I applied for natural sciences, right? So literally before the interview, like a month before the interview, I made sure that I learned everything that I covered in year 12 and also everything that I covered in year 13. That way if the interviewer tries to ask me any questions on A-level content of my subject, I already know the answer to them, you know what I'm saying? Because usually, especially with Uxbridge interviews, the interviews are very content heavy. Like they like to ask you a lot of educational questions based on your A-level subject and what you've covered in school. So tip number one is simply make sure you master AS and AT content for all of your subjects. Like in my interview, right? So I had two interviews, right, for Cambridge. I had one biology based interview, and my second interview was more chemistry based. And in both of those interviews, they asked me questions based on year 13 content. So in my biology interview, they asked me questions based on speciation, geology, the stuff like that, you know what I'm saying, like natural selection. That's what they asked me in the biology interview, right? And in the chemistry interview, they asked me year 12 questions. Like they asked me questions on electrophilic substitution, nucleophilic addition. No, other way around. They asked me questions on electrophilic addition and nucleophilic substitution. And those are year 12. Those questions are based off of year 12 content. So imagine if I didn't go back and revise year 12 content. I would have been screwed. So yeah, tip number one is simply make sure you master and you go through year 12 content and year 13 content. Because for Uxbridge interviews, they like to ask a lot of questions based on A-level content. Alright? They don't really like to ask general questions, such as why natural sciences for me. They like to ask a lot of questions based on educational questions. Alright? Cool. Tip number two is simply, see, I might get some hate for this, right? But tip number two is simply, you need to reread all of the books and articles that you mentioned on your personal statement. So it has come to my realization that people lie on their personal statement. It came to my realization that people lie on their personal statement, and then they get caught out in the interview when they, like, for example, when the interviewer asks a question on a book that was mentioned in their personal statement, but then the student doesn't know the answer to the question. So tip number 2, you need to reread all of the articles, all of the books, rewatch all of the podcasts that you mentioned in your personal statement, because you want to make sure that if the interviewer asks you any question on any of these books or podcasts, that you know the answer to them. Because I can't lie to you, if you do not know the answer to any of these questions, you're screwed. You're screwed. Automatically the interviewer is like, oh, this guy just lied on their personal statement. This guy, he's not reliable. Why would I want to have him as a student? Because that's what the interviewer is thinking. The interviewer at Oxford, they're assessing you to see that if you'd be a good fit for Cambridge. They're analysing you and making sure that you'll be a good fit for what they call supervisions. Alright? So if you lie in the personal statement, why would they want to have you as a student? So tip number 2 is simply reread all of the books and articles and rewatch all of the podcasts that you mentioned in your personal statement. Because you don't want to get caught out by the interviewer. And also the interviewer might ask you questions based on these books. So you want to make sure that you know the answers to them. Alright? Tip number 3, make sure that oh god, I'm done. My throat is gone, no homo fam. But my throat is gone fam. Anyways, right, tip number 3. It's not even written down, but it just came to my head right now. You need to make sure that you're thinking out loud. Make sure that you're thinking out loud, right? So in my interview, right, they were asking me biology questions like they asked me questions based on natural selection, such as what would happen if a population of dogs was left isolated on an island. Am I even allowed to reveal Cambridge interview questions to the public? Hey, fuck it, man. It is what it is. If I get taken out, if Cambridge excludes me from the uni because I revealed that interview question, it is what it is. Anyway, in my biology interview, they asked me a question. They asked me what would happen to a population of dogs if they were left isolated on an island. So when they asked me that, obviously I took a few seconds, I took like 5-10 seconds to think. Then I was actively thinking, like I was telling them my thought process. I was going through the question. So I was like, if they're left isolated on an island, the population would increase in numbers at first, since there's no predators. But over time, the population would start to decrease as there would be too much competition for resources. You know what I'm saying, G? And food sources will also run out because they're the only animals on the island. So yeah, you have to actively think out and speak out loud your thought process. Like you can't just be silent in the interview. Like certain men are like this in the interview. Certain men them are like this in the interview. They're like this. And then the interviewer just looking at you like, come on G, come on bro, like, speak out loud bro, like think out loud G. But you're just like this. There's you G, there's you. You be like you just be thinking in silent bro. You just be like this in the interview. You have to think out loud bro. You have to think out loud. You have to tell the interviewer, you have to tell them your thought process, you know what I'm saying G? You can't just be quiet like this G. Cause that's an immediate rejection. If you're just quiet, you have to think out loud. Tell them your thought process. Cause like I said before, the interviewer is assessing you and is analysing whether you'll be a good fit to the university. So you have to think out loud. You have to show them why you're a good student. You can't just be quiet. You have to let them know your thought process. And also by letting them know your thought process, they can easily identify where you went wrong and help you get back on the right track. So yeah, that tip number 3 was simply you have to think out loud bro. You have to think out loud. You can't just be quiet like this G. Oh, hold on, man. Hello? Oh, are you downstairs already? Oh, okay, cool. I'm coming. Yes, cool. Yeah, I got a food delivery. It's currently, what's the time? It's like 26 past midnight. Yeah, got a food delivery downstairs, man. I'll get back to the video, you know what I'm saying? I'll get back to the video. I don't know where I left off, but anyway, tip number 4. Tip number 4 is quite simple and it's to be quite self-explanatory, but I've realized that common sense isn't so common nowadays. Anyway, tip number 4 is simply, what's tip number 4? Tip number 4 is simply, you need to research and understand why you want to study at that university. So even in my interview, the very first question that they asked me was, why do I want to study at Cambridge? And then they asked me, why do I want to do natural sciences? So imagine if I flop those questions. Ah, good man. You guys need to use your common sense, fam. Research and understand why you want to do your chosen subject at that university. Even in my Loughborough interview, they asked me why do I want to study natural sciences at Loughborough. So yeah, tip number 4 is simply make sure you research and understand, and you have like a good list of reasons as to why you want to study your subject at that university, alright? So yeah, those were my 4 tips. I'm sorry the video got interrupted, like I had a phone call, I had to go downstairs, but yeah man, those were my 4 tips for the Oxford interview. Like I always say at the end of my videos, if you grind, you'll succeed. If you do nothing, you'll stay the same G, alright? Let's kill it, man, let's go.